In 2010, Nintendo decided to give one of their most dormant franchises a revival. Donkey Kong Country, a series that hasn't had a proper game since the Super Nintendo era, but it was set to get its first game in 14 years. How was it, you may ask? Overall, this is probably one of the best looking games on the Wii. This team, Retro Studios, would come to be known for their stellar approach to background detail and theming in these games. The obvious game to compare them to is New Super Mario Bros. Wii, a game that every Wii owner has probably played to death. It's a game that's kind of lacking on the visual end, levels blend together, and everything kind of looks generic. The best way it can be described is stock Mario. They wanted the Mario in the game to look exactly like the Mario on your t-shirts or lunchboxes, so everything had to conform to this generic brand-friendly version of the Mario art style. Donkey Kong immediately sought to contrast this. In the first level, backgrounds come alive. You're shown this glimpse of the enemy riding away on an airship with your bananas. Enemies show a lot more personality than they do in the Mario Wii game. It's a game that gets a lot more creative a lot faster. There's only one real issue with this, and it's the fact that to do the signature ground pound ability, you have to shake the Wii Remote and nunchuck. A small gripe, but one that becomes annoying after 6 hours of playing. They would later fix this when they ported the game to the 3DS 5 years later. However, the trade-off there is now you're taking this game that excelled on the visual end and putting it on a console with a much smaller screen. That being said, for 10 years, this was the best way to play the game. It even added a brand new world that you can get after completing the main storyline. 10 years later, the game finds itself remastered yet again on the Nintendo Switch. Now, you no longer have to make any sacrifices. Okay, there are a few things that drag this game down. One of these things being the load times are absolutely horrendous for a game that released 15 years ago. I imagine this will be a non-issue when you play it on the Switch 2 that's going to release probably later this year, but it really shouldn't be an issue at all. It does feel like in many cases that this game was just made to wait out the Switch 2's release. They didn't really give us anything that the 3DS version already didn't have. No new levels, no new modes, and no Dixie or Cranky. This is just a one-to-one remaster of the 3DS release. That being said, it's still the best way to play this game, and I gotta at least give it props for that. How is the game, you may ask? It's alright. It's a solid 2D platformer, one that was underrated in its day, but now there are better options. One thing that strikes me as odd is how hard the game is. It sounds weird coming from a Nintendo game, but it's true. I think a lot of the challenge is due to, in part, the way that Donkey Kong controls. Unlike a lot of platforming characters like Rayman or Mario, Donkey Kong is a character that has some weight behind his movements. To gain speed, you typically have to do DK's roll attack. If you have Diddy, you can continuously do this roll and keep up your momentum. You can even launch yourself out of a roll to jump farther. Getting attuned to these controls and learning how to be precise with it is going to be half of your challenge when it comes to this game. I will say it is really satisfying and rewarding, as once you do get a solid grasp of your controls, you can pull off some pretty amazing platforming feats, but it's still going to take you some time to get used to. The other half of the challenge is going to be these minecart and rocket levels. Can I just say, I never really liked these, even in older DKC games. They always felt extremely cheap, like a lot of the times I would lose in these sections due to mistiming a single jump, or getting blindsided by something I have no way of seeing. It's also one hit and you're done, so be prepared to lose a lot of lives on these levels. I will say the item shop at least alleviates some of the pain. You could buy extra lives as well as extra hits. They are also very generous with giving out coins. They're in every level and can be recollected when you die, allowing you to feel at least somewhat compensated when you have to go through a tough level a dozen times over. As I said, the visuals and soundtrack are really going to be what sells you on this game. Levels come alive with creativity. My two favorites are the Savannah level that blacks out the characters for the entire duration of it, and this level where you're being chased by a vicious octopus trying to hunt you down. That's really only scratching the surface of what this game has to offer. It's something that the best Nintendo platformers have definitely iterated on since this game's release. We only really get a small taste of it here, as their next game, Tropical Freeze, is really where this type of level design shines the best. Overall, as far as 2D platformers go, I think you can do a lot better, but I also think you can do a lot worse. Games like Mario Bros. Wonder iterate a lot on this game's ideas. That being said, I am extremely happy that we have a version of this game where you don't have to make sacrifices on how you want to enjoy it. I think a lot of people who grew up with this game, or a lot of people who have fond memories with this game, are going to enjoy this remaster. I'm not in a hurry to play it again, but I'm glad I finished it. I'll see you on the next video, whatever that may be. By the way, the channel is going to be going on a bit of a hiatus. There's a few other projects I would like to focus my attention on for the time being, as well as the channel's eventual rebrand. Anyway, more details about that when there's more to say. Thank you for watching. And thank you for sticking around.